Hey everyone, it's the last week of classes. I can't believe we're at the end of the semester already. Next week is final exam week. So I know we have a couple assignments coming up, and I wanted to talk to you guys about your discussion number three, changes that are going to come from COVID-19 and this pandemic. And then I want to give you some information about the final exam. So we'll jump in. I think you guys did a really good job on your discussions. What I wanted to see was, what did you think was going to permanently change because of this pandemic? What do you think will be life changing that you'll notice a difference in your life before and after this pandemic? Similar to 9/11. Some people didn't think the security would stick around forever, and it did. Airlines, security in general, there's a lot of things. I mean, that was a huge paradigm shift in disaster management. Things are very different. Life is very different. And this pandemic is probably going to have that same effect on us and on you and our society. And so that's what this discussion was for. So I wanted to highlight a couple things. Um, I think technology is a huge one. I think we're going to see businesses go to more at home work. I think, why pay rent in an office building if we can accomplish everything we need to from home? And, that's a cost savings there. If people can still be productive at home, then why are we renting this office space? Why are we doing things in the office that we can do from our houses? A lot of my coworkers had to learn technology really quickly. We had a lot of cool tools, but not everyone was using it. And now everyone in the office is having to use it. And so it's kind of changed the learning curve on technology. I think we've even seen that in our families. My grandparents don't know what FaceTime is until now. Now they FaceTime with their great grandkids. And they can do that. And that's not something they were ever interested in learning before. And so technology in and of itself and how we communicate and how we interact with each other is changing for sure. And I think that's something that's going to permanently change. I think, like I said, I think you're going to see companies realize that people can work from home and they are being productive, and that, things could be different. Online classes, IU already pushes online classes. A lot of, especially the master's program, a lot of that's online as it is, especially for non-traditional students. But I think you're going to see even more of that. What if you could do your whole science degree online and only have to come to campus for labs and for the recitation periods? If all of that can be taught from a computer, not in the classroom. So I think there's some interesting things that are going to happen with technology from that aspect. From a healthcare side, at the beginning of the semester, we talked about public health as part of the public safety spectrum of people who are involved in that. And this is their emergency to manage. This is a pandemic, and this is up to them to manage. And so there's a lot of learning that's coming from that. They use incident command just as emergency management does, and working with emergency management right now. There's been a lot of lessons learned so far. We talked about the national stockpile. I think you're going to see states and counties doing a little bit more stockpiling on their own. I think there's lessons from this that can be learned when we're talking about preparedness for weapons of mass destruction, like a biological attack or a chemical attack, when we need some of these same supplies. Um, we've never really dipped into the national stockpile the way that we are now. So all the plans and the training and everything that's been done to prepare that national stockpile and the transportation of those goods, that's all being put to the test. I think we're going to learn a lot there, and how that needs to work. Supply chain management, getting supplies to hospitals, and there's a lot that's changed there as well. In terms of the economy, I think you're going to see a lot more American made products, and people wanting to purchase things made in America, not relying on other countries. I think there's going to be conversations around, why are professional athletes making millions of dollars and our essential workers are making minimum wage? Will minimum wage be raised because of this? I don't know. Before this, a lot of the hot button topics at the election were teacher salaries, and I think that's come into play now, especially. People are appreciating those teachers now that they're having to teach their kids from home. I think elections will change. If the government can give out trillions of dollars deposited into bank accounts safely, why can't we vote online? I think that, the primary election was moved. They're doing absentee ballots. You don't have to have a reason to vote absentee. They're just encouraging you to do that. Think about all the resources that go into polling locations and how much less there could be if we were able to vote another way. I think this is gonna push that conversation about elections. From a family life perspective, when things get back to normal, whatever that's going to look like, will people prioritize a Friday night family night or, Sunday afternoons or whatever that is? Will people really value family dinners together instead of the hustle and the bustle because they've appreciated this time at home? Unfortunately, not for every family. This has been a good thing. Some families have been torn apart by it. And so I think there's a lot of dynamics socially that are going to happen and change. I think when we're looking at just being out in public, some of the permanent things we're going to think about changing. How long are there going to be X's on the floor at the grocery store for social distancing? Is that something that's never going to go away, just like going on an airlines, going through security? It could very well be that social distancing becomes a norm to some extent, especially in places like that. Um, I don't think people are always going to wear a mask and gloves. I don't think that's going to be a permanent change. I think it's going to be a while. But I think you're going to see other types of protection. If plexiglass can help keep the store clerk safe, then why not leave it up when all this is over? It's not hurting anything. It's already there. So what things are going to happen and change because of that? What's going to happen at events? Do we start football season without fans? Do you sell every sixth seat in the stadium? What does that look like? What about concession lines? All things we're thinking about for the fair, all things we're talking to other venues about, Convention Center and the Bankers Life and Lucas Oil Stadium, the Indy 500. There's a lot that could happen with events if we're even allowed to have events in August based on CDC guidelines. So there's some short-term things and there's some long-term things, and I don't think there's any right or wrong answers. I think people are kind of doing the best they can with the information they're given, and so it's an interesting conversation to have, and it's something that we're going to have to watch. I think my next class in the fall, when we talk about COVID-19 and do these similar current event discussions, I think the conversation is going to be different. I think it's going to, certainly going to be different 4 months from now than what we know right now. So keep up with the news, but don't get bogged down by it. Hopefully, you guys are kind of mentally taking care of yourselves and making sure that you kind of know what's going on without being overwhelmed by it. I want to talk real quick about assignments and the final exam. So first off, for assignments, extra credits due tomorrow. That's 20 points if you've missed any classes or any homework assignments. That's worth two assignments, so make sure you get that in tomorrow. Responses and discussion number 4. So discussion 4 was due on Thursday, so you have until this Thursday to turn in your responses to that about leadership in light of COVID-19. This was the second week that we had 2 online activities due. We had an extra module this week to fit everything in and not affect your grades. And then you have your last activity due Monday. So you've got 3 more online activities due. Of course, there's one due tonight, but hopefully you've already looked at that and done that. And then for those of you that haven't done your FEMA certificates, that is a large portion of your grade. So you'll get late credit for it, but that is due the 5th as well. Also on the paper, if you haven't turned in your paper, turn it in tonight for 10 points off. After tonight, it's 50 points off, but you can still turn it in. And transitioning, the final exam is next week. So we've already reached finals. The semester has been crazy and weird, but we did it. We're here. So you're going to have 3 days to do your final. You have to do it sometime within those 3 days. So 7 a.m. on May 5th, which was supposed to be the day of our final, until the end of the day on May 7th, till midnight. So sometime on the 5th, 6th, or 7th, you have to do your final exam. Once you open the final, you have a 2-hour time limit, and that's what you would have had in the classroom. So you need to study. just as if you were coming to class to take the final. So you have a 2-hour time limit once it opens. You can use your notes. You may not use other classmates to help you with the final. But again, don't rely on your notes because you only have 2 hours to do it. So this is going to be a very similar format to the midterm. There's going to be 45 multiple choice and true-false questions, 2 points each, totaling 90 points. Instead of an essay, you'll have fill in the blank. So you have to fill in 5 questions, and they are 2 points each. And the other questions, if you fill in more questions than that, then you'll get extra credit. So you'll have to choose 5 to fill in, and then I'll give you extra credit if you can fill in more. And then as far as content, obviously study everything that's online. The exam will be heavily focused on response and recovery, those final phases of emergency management. And then things like the articles. So for cybersecurity, make sure you read that article. That's where the questions are coming from. For special events, make sure you go back through the material. That's where those questions are coming from. So it'll be the highlights. Pay attention to the objectives, pay attention to the questions and the worksheets that you've done. I've posted the answers to all the worksheets and guidance on all those worksheets. So not going to reinvent the wheel, just like the midterm. You guys all did well in the midterm. So again, study as if you're coming to class to take this, because once you open the exam, you have a 2-hour time limit, and you need to complete the exam either the 5th, 6th, or 7th. So if you wait too long, if you open the exam at 10:30 p.m. on the 7th, you're only going to get an hour and a half. So don't do that. Make sure you're allowed your whole 2-hour time limit. Make sure you sit down and take it when you're not going to get interrupted or anything like that. If you have any questions, send me an email or a message through Canvas, and I will answer as soon as I can. But get those questions to me before next week. But this is what I've got for you for the final. So good luck with it. I'll post one more video next week to kind of finish up our semester. And hopefully you guys are doing well and staying healthy and looking forward to summer break. So have a good last week of class. Again, these are the assignments due this week. Make sure that you get everything turned in. Pay attention to those final deadlines in Canvas, and I'll talk to you guys soon.